What's that? It's like okay, good afternoon. Welcome. It is a great pleasure to have you here. I'm Dan Hilton. I'm the Dean of the UNLV Boyd School of Law, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the third annual Robert D. Faiss Lecture in Gaming Law and Policy. And it's, of course, such an honor and a privilege for this law school to recognize Robert Faiss, who meant so much to the gaming law community and to this law school, in particular, to welcome Linda Faiss to our lecture today. Thank you. I want to thank our sponsors from the Nevada State Bar Gaming Law section and from Brownstein High. We'll hear more from them in a moment. I do want to mention very briefly, I want to welcome our LLM students. Our LLM students are taking part in the nation's first Masters of Law in Gaming program here at UNLV, and we've got a terrific class that are taking courses from terrific professors who are here today. I want to briefly announce, again, the nation's first gaming law moot court competition taking place at this law school on April 1st, which we are proud to say is named the Frank A. Schreck Gaming Law Moot Court Competition. So thank you very much to Brownstein again for that. And I also want to recognize a joint venture between the International Gaming Institute and the law school, namely the International Center for Gaming Regulation, that was made possible through the hard work and support of Senator Mark Nicorelli and Tony Cabot and others. We are fortunate, I think, yes, to have the Director of the International Center for Gaming Law and Regulation, Andrew Wilsnock. Welcome to campus, sir. Good to have you here. We have the leadership from the Gaming Law Society here today. And I also finally want to thank our members of the Gaming Law Advisory Board who are here, and in particular the chairman of that board, Anthony Pearl from the Cosmopolitan. So thank you. I want to hear quickly and from our terrific sponsors. So first, I wonder if Jennifer Roberts from the gaming section of the State Bar might come up and say something.
Thank you. I just want to quickly say thank you. It's an honor to sponsor the Robert D. Faiss lecture, and on behalf of the gaming law section, we just want to encourage any attorneys who are not members to please join. It's only $25 a year. And we publish the Nevada Gaming Lawyer magazine for our members, as well as sponsor many scholarships for the LLM program, and have a lot of benefits coming out with a Nevada practice manual that will be available for gaming practitioners. So any students, please join, and any practicing attorneys, please join as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. It's a wonderful partnership between the law school and the gaming law section, and we appreciate it very much. And also, let's hear from another great partner with the law school, Jennifer Carlton from Brownstein. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Jennifer Roberts and I are different people. Two whole Jennifer. And I think it's calling tasking. It's Brownstein High Harbor Shrek. You always forget that line, that very important last name. Unfortunately, Frank was planning on being here because obviously Gavin and he had been friends since, actually, I think you guys wrote dinosaurs together way back when we first started.
Come on, no.
I'm starting early. So I did ask Frank if there were any stories that I was allowed to share, but he said, no, we'll be sharing this with dinner later tonight. So I'm unfortunately not allowed to share any stories about Gavin. I've been friends and co-workers with Gavin since he was, well, again, we probably didn't write dinosaurs together, but certainly way before scientific games. And I think a lot of you have been as well. And so I think it's a wonderful testament to see so many familiar faces from your story career in gaming. And we're very proud to be a sponsor along with the Gaming Law section and Cosmopolitan. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you both for your support. of this important lecture series. And the lecture series is thrilled, and is also thrilled to host. Welcome Gavin Isaacs, who is President and Chief Executive Officer of Scientific Games. Many of you know his remarkable career. Prior to joining Scientific Games in 2014, he served for 3 years as CEO of Shuffle Entertainment, where he grew the company to record revenues. He has also served as Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Valley Technologies. Most importantly, he was a partner at a law firm in Australia, which many of you might not know. So he was a partner with the leading Australian law firm of DLA Phillips Fox, where he built a very successful property services business practice. He is very connected and supportive of our community. He serves on the board of directors of the American Gaming Association. He is on the board of directors of KNPR, and he is also has served as president of the International Association of Gaming Advisors. We are delighted to welcome him here today. Please join me in welcoming Gavin Isaacs.
Okay, thank you all. I guess, oh, that's better. Do I need this? Do I need that?
No, I don't know if you need it. Try without it.
Really big echo. Can you hear me at the back? Yeah, that's great. So thank you all for having me. I'm really honored to be here in this particular forum with this topic and under Bob Faiss's name, because I was saying to before that when I got, every time you change roles, you have to go through this huge compliance rigmarole in this industry. And that includes going back and forward to all these regulatory authorities. And I do like going before the Nevada Gaming Board and Commission. And when I went before Shuffle, Bob moved my admission. And it was a great honor. It was great to have him, and it's great for me to be able to give this talk here today in that honor. So thank you all. So the thing holding you all up for me is obviously there's people who want to be in the basketball, and there's people who would rather be celebrating a green beer and things like that. But you know, I think that's sort of great. But unfortunately, I've been asked to talk about technology disruption, things that we're facing in the gaming industry, the universe. And I have a little bit of a different view on what you actually read in the press and what some of you actually will hear about things. And you know, the way I look at it, I'll give you a little bit of a talk about Scientific Games as we go. There'll be a video about that, so that makes it easier on me. Disruption is the key thing. You know, disruptive industry, disruptive technologies are affecting every industry out there today. In my role, I'm blessed to occasionally go and sit before people. Last week, we had an AGA CEO meeting, and Meg Whitman was our guest speaker. Absolutely phenomenal, brilliant person, and one of the best speakers I've ever heard. Mark Cuban was also a guest speaker, and I guess what they talked about is the theme I've heard lots of other people. You know, disruptive technologies are attacking standard, you know, core industries, if you will. And the best example they always give is Uber in the taxi industry or whatever. But it's happening to us as well. So I want to talk a little bit about that, and then how you win in that kind of environment. And obviously, I'll take any questions. So it's a little bit about us. This is the first time this has ever been shown.
We empower our customers by creating the world's best gaming and lottery experiences. Our casino, digital, and lottery games reach players wherever they are, whenever they want to play, and in any channel they choose. For more than 84 years through our acquired companies, Scientific Games has delivered what customers and players value most: entertainment, trusted security, creative content, and innovative technology. Beginning with the world's first slot machine in 1936, to the breakthrough technology that launched the world's first secure instant lottery game in 1973, we have been a driving force behind the success of customers globally. Headquartered in Las Vegas with more than 8,000 employees worldwide, we serve our customers from 250 manufacturing and commercial facilities on 6 continents. We operate under 3 divisions: gaming, lottery, and interactive. We provide solutions for almost the entire gaming enterprise: electronic gaming machines, gaming content, casino and slot management systems, proprietary table games, electronic table games, and card shufflers. Our lottery division delivers solutions to lottery programs in more than 50 countries in more than 150 lottery jurisdictions worldwide. SG Interactive delivers robust B2B and B2C solutions anchored by engaging slot and table game content from our Valley, Barcrest, Shuffle Master, and WMS studios. Scientific Games leads by innovation, winning more than twice as many awards in the past 5 years as all of our competitors combined. 40% of our global workforce is laser focused on innovation, invention, and ideation. And we have the patents and pioneering products to prove it. In Scientific Games, success is more than delivering great products and services. We commit to doing what is right for our employees, our customers, our stockholders, and the communities in which we live and work.
There we go, and there's a legal warning at the end. So, yeah, very proud of what we've put together, and I'll talk a little bit about that as we go, because part of that is in response to disruptive elements that are affecting the world we live in, the industry we operate in. Let's start with the industry. Okay, so I guess prior to 2007, those of us who were in gaming, I think most of us, I know most of the people in the room, were sort of associated with it. It was pretty easy in many respects. Casinos were opening up everywhere. You would get, I remember one time in about 2005, I got a phone call from a property saying, you know, how quickly can you get me 400 machines? You know, those kind of days died. Remember those days, Walt, when we were working together, we'd get these phone calls. The only concession they wanted was not a discount, not anything like that. But instead of paying you in 30 days, we want to pay you in 90 days. And you know, we didn't have to worry about, you know, EBITDA and things like that. The casino, the operators who founded these great companies were really operating them. Along came the recession, and the world changed. Expansion sort of stopped. Most importantly, and this is the thing that I really do look at the recession about, it wasn't the fact that we'll talk about consolidation, but our players, the people who play our games, they were the ones who were most adversely affected. You know, they lost the equity in their homes, they lost their 401 accounts, they lost all of that. And that really, the discretionary income, that stopped dead in its tracks. It was like smoking bans all of a sudden hitting us again. And then we've had to rebuild. You know, the public company effect, you know, people taking the recurring revenue machines. You know, for those who don't know, we sell certain numbers of machines and we are place others. Generally, when there's a brand and a big sign and all of that, those units are leased. And the reason they're leased is that we take the brand and we put a lot more R&D in it from parties who want a recurring revenue stream. In the old days, those games, you know, there was about 10% of the floor, and people would say that's fine. Today, when you're a publicly listed company and you're driven by EBITDA, you don't, when you buy a game that comes out of the duck, you depreciate it, it comes off the numbers you measured on. When you lease a game, it comes off the EBITDA. And so it may be better for the player, it may be better for you even as a casino, but it affects your EBITDA, you lose it. This is part of the issues that we're dealing with as a company. So lots of changes happening. There's been some consolidation. I mean, the amount of consolidation in this industry since 2008 is way surpassed what everyone assumed. I always thought there were opportunities to put things together. For many years, when I was at Valley, we'd sit with WMS. Let's put each other together. We've got great synergies here. There's some great ways to do it. And we really couldn't do it. But the recession really gave everyone the impetus to do it. And I'll go into reasons why for that. But at the end of the day, lots of, when the recession hit, we all started cutting costs, getting more efficient. You can't cut to growth. You can't cut to, you know, ongoing growth. So you had to look for other ways to grow. And obviously some of these consolidations, I think everyone's familiar, a lot of them around here. Some of them are still going on. Overnight Games were announced the other day. You know, people always looking to add complements to their industry. On the operator side, you know, we're getting less and less operators. Consolidation happening all the time. And that's the world we're in. It makes sense. Consolidation definitely makes sense. You obviously have the efficiencies of scale. We have a big lottery business. Generally in gaming and casino style, slot manufacturing and things like that, invest about 12% roughly of your income in R&D. The lottery side of the world, we actually last year printed 43 billion scratch tickets. We put a lot of capital into those machines that print 24 hours a day and things like that. And we have a lot of R&D that goes into that. The level of R&D is much, much smaller percent. So overall, when you do all your synergies and your consolidation, you can spend like 8% or 7%, I think we spend, of our $2.8 billion of revenues on R&D. But the impact is so much bigger. We have 40 people working on nothing but the future. We could never afford that as a small company. We were up at Silicon Valley, we have these people just looking at different technologies that are out there that are disrupting the rest of the world and seeing how we can apply them. Obviously, they're the obvious synergies. When you put Bally, Shuffle, WMS, Cygames together, I only need one legal department, right? I only need one finance department. We only need one board of directors. We only need to pay the government one set of filing fees. So there's some amazing initial synergies that you get that do not affect anything. You obviously get the opportunity of picking the best in breed. So if I look at the sales side of the business, or the R&D side of the business, it's very difficult when you put them together as to who's going to be the best person to sell to Boyd. Because the WMS guy had a great relationship, and the Dally guy had a great relationship, and the girl from Shuffle did a brilliant job. So you work it out. And at the end of the day, it's not 1 + 1 = 1. It's 1 + 1 = about 1.5, and you increase the level of service and support you give when you empower your customers. In R&D and product development, you have to come into synergies and plays there. And for us, some of the things that we did was pick an operating system. We have 7 operating systems, which can make computers effectively. And our operating systems are unlike computers that you all have in front of you, where it'll be obsolete in 3 years. Unfortunately, these days, ours have to stay on floors for about a year, for about 10 years. Being played continuously, hopefully, with people smoking on them, drinking on them, spilling on them, bumping them. And we have to keep the software up to date and do all of that. So what we do is we make that. Every manufacturer has its own unique operating system. So one of the things we did was have one operating system, which we've just rolled out, so that we can have all the different brands and all the different varieties of content, put that on our operating system, which means we can focus our R&D on content and not on infrastructure, if you will. Content's ultimately the king. We love this slide because this is where consolidation makes sense. We have the licenses to the Monopoly brand. Monopoly is one of the leading brands in slot machines. It's one of the leading brand in scratch tickets. It's the leading brand, one of the leading brands in our interactive games online. And we can leverage that Monopoly brand across the whole portfolio of what we do. Omnichannel, all these great words that come out. So what we've done is created a one-stop shop. The whole strategy behind Scientific Games was really to be able to go to anyone who does anything in gaming, gambling, lottery, interactive, whatever, and we can provide everything. So for a new opening, for example, we have the shufflers, we have the tables, we have the slot machines, we have the systems. So all of these areas in which we believe we try and become a leader in, it's our strategy, we can do it all. Players. So if you read the press, we all worry because we haven't got games for millennials. Oh, what a problem. I don't care about them, no disrespect. We had Anthony Sanfilippo come and talk to our board. And during our board meeting, a couple of the younger bankers who work for one of our major shareholders were sitting in the back. And he looked and he said, I really do have an interest in most of you, except for you two young people at the back, come back in 10 years. The baby boomers, the Generation X's, and the silent people, that's our sweet spot in gaming. But unfortunately, everyone's talking about the millennials. So let's talk a little bit, let's have a little bit of data. And thank you, Laura and Susan, for getting all this data, because I'm very passionate about this. Our core target, the baby boomers, okay? Number one demographic in the whole United States. It's the fastest growing demographic. It controls 3/4 of America's wealth, okay? It owns 63% of United financial assets. 83% of consumer spending, okay, which is like $3.2 trillion annually, come from baby boomers. That's greater than the GDP of Russia, the United Kingdom, Brazil, France, Italy. But let's focus upon the millennials. We'll come back to that. It also accounts for 50% of discretionary spend. Here's the really interesting one. If you look up to the left, spend more than 27 hours a week online, and millennials only spend 25 hours. But of course, we don't know anything about phones or computers. You know, Generation X, another great group of people who we like to target. You know, this is, I guess I'm on the borderline, although Laura and I decided I should become a baby boomer. We grew up with the digital generation, with MTV. You know, we were the ones who 81% of us have Facebook accounts. My kids tell me only old people have Facebook accounts. Yeah, they're on Instagram and things like that. Highest online shopping penetration. 43% graduated from college. Have the most debt. Some great stats there. Millennials. 70% feel they don't earn enough money. 40% of unemployed Americans are millennials. 83% of last year's graduating class don't have jobs. They earn less than any previous generation at this age. Average debt of nearly $50,000 and are very focused about their ability to repay their student loans. So the question becomes, are they really relevant to gaming today? In the future, yes, because look what they're going to inherit. But right now, today, we read about all of these things, and we'll see people go out there. Some of our biggest customers go out there and say the reason why we're not spending money on gaming is we're not attracting millennials. I argue that maybe that's not really the right argument, right target we should be looking at. You know, focus on where, when you go fishing, you try to put the pole and you put the bait and let the fish out. This omni-channel business, I guess where it's relevant to me is that players play. You know, if you gamble, you gamble. It doesn't matter what device you're going to gamble on. So some stats that we've got. If you scratch instant tickets outside of this state, they're pretty popular. 50% of you will go and play casino slots. Okay. 75% of slot players will buy up either draw or instant or both scratch tickets, lottery tickets. I think everyone went to Prim and they bought one of those 1.5 million tickets, or I'm sure some of you lawyers sent some young article clerks out there to line up for you. And then, of course, this is another, we have social slots where you can't win money. 83% of social players visit the casino at least once a year and 60% once in the past 6 months. We have an application called SG. You know, mobile is a huge threat. We'll talk about mobile when we come to technology, but a huge trend. We have this product SG Universe where effectively, instead of a player's card, you're replacing it with a phone app. And when you have your location devices on, obviously, you know, for example, in this town, if you're driving out past, you know, the northeast or northwest, you go past the property, and let's say it's a station's card, and you go past Santa Fe, they can sort of work out where you are. If they have this technology, they can say, hey, stop in, we're going to give you a free steak if you stay for an hour, or whatever it might be. You know, you can really get to this stage. 5 casinos, 4 major US casinos deployed it, and they found an uplift. They just targeted the dormant players, a 28% uplift on property theoretical by using these kind of tools, which are out there. So, you know, my point is that the baby boomers, the X-Gens, all of them, you know, that's who we should be targeting. But understand that they're adapting to new tools. There are more SIM cards than there are human beings on Earth. There are over 7.5 billion devices out there. Active internet users, over 40% of casino gamblers, 45% of casino gamblers are active internet users. That means they use it every couple of days. All the things that people think about as young people's tools are really relevant to our generation, people who we should be targeting. Let's talk about technology. Laura put this slide together. We looked back from 2005 onwards and went forward, and we looked at what was the hot, trendy thing at G2E. What was the thing that everyone talked about? So in 2005, we talked about server-based gaming. In 2006, we're going cashless. You know, all the hype that was put out there about all these great things, and community gaming, network gaming, the cloud, electronic table games. Of course, 2014, it's all about millennials, right? We've had all of these things happen. The bottom line is that none of them have really made a material impact yet. Now, the things that are out there and the things we need to recognize, none of these things, a couple of them you could argue have had an impact, but none of them have really changed the playing field. I'll give you an example why. 60% of casinos out there have serial floors still. They're not even on Ethernet floors. They can't do hard things that you want to do. If you want to download a game from a slot machine, which currently is about 2 gigabytes, to down a pipe to what we would call server-based gaming, it's going to take you about an hour, right? It's very blockbuster-ish, isn't it? It's not really it's not really. So all these things are great, and they all create a lot of hype, and they create a lot of movement in the share markets and things like that. None of them have really had a major impact, but they will. They will, because these things get out there a little bit ahead of time, and then we're going to refine things. So, for example, I think the next generation of server-based gaming is going to be much more impactful because it's going to be we're going to stream things. We have a thing called VenueBet. We're going to start streaming to your device, so you can take that 2 gigabyte game and play it on your own cell phone without losing any of the impact of the game. Those kind of things are going to happen. So all of these things will happen, but it's just interesting to see how we sometimes get out a little bit ahead of ourselves. There are massive changes happening all around us. And I've just focused on the ones that really impact gaming, obviously, given the audience. We keep talking about omni-channel, or whatever that means. It's basically hitting you in every possible way you can. Big data. Everyone talks about big data. There's so much data that, as Meg Whitman really put it brilliantly, she said, you try to collect every piece of data that your business generates, you go broke. You won't be able to store it, you won't be able to access it, you'll just die. So big data really is about extracting relevant data at a timely manner. Some stuff you might need instantly, sometimes stuff you might need in 3 days' time. But that has a lot of problems, we'll talk about that as well. Mobile payments. The idea when I came to America in 2003 that we were going to use tickets. When in South Africa we've been doing smart cards for 5 years, things like that. Sort of like ridiculous, and we're still doing tickets on a casino floor. But those kind of things. Right now on my phone, which Lisa's got, I have an American Express card, and I can go to Whole Foods and use my thumbprint and buy things. Why can't we do that in casinos? Why shouldn't we be doing that in casinos? We will be doing that in casinos. Bring your own device. If you really want to play on your own device, when we're doing a trial, we're not doing a trial, it's actually up and running. In certain jurisdictions, you're not allowed to smoke. And one of our customers out in the Midwest, Churchill Downs, we have an app where you can stream off the slot machine onto your phone. And they've taken that, so a player can say, okay, I want to keep playing, but I want to go out and have a cigarette. And so, depending on the level of player, you give them a certain amount of time, and they can swipe the game onto the device. It's still all played on the games. The regulators have no problems with it because it's still contained in that game. They're just playing it on this device. And if you go up to the device, it's all grey. It says in use. The meters are still running. And the person's outside playing their device and having a cigarette. These things are happening, and these things are very, very important. Skill-based gaming. It's a hot topic that everyone talks about. we have a photo somewhere in one of these slides of our Space Invaders. You know, we did Pong, I think, about 2008, and that was skill-based game. You could get a higher payout in the bonus if you could play Pong against the machine. Complete and utter flop, but it was there, it was tried. We will continue to do skill-based gaming, try things, but it's not going to change the world, in my opinion. I always, when I talk to people about what we do in gaming, we've got this technology out there. You know, you have people out there trying different things and saying, well, we're uninhibited by restrictions like regulatory authorities and rules. So, you know, you go to Silicon Valley, people come up with apps for just about everything. If you use a surfing analogy, big sets of waves come in sets of 3 or 4, right? So the people up in Silicon Valley are on that first wave, and they're trying things. And, you know, in gaming, we can't be on that first wave, which is good, because we see what works, you know, who gets the ride, you know, how you ride it, what happens. And we need to hop on the second or the third wave, because we take what's out there and we refine it and we make it work for us and work for the regulators. Because, you know, a lot of these things, you try them up front, they're just going to be great, they're huge, and then why aren't you doing it? Why isn't this happening? You know, we have to play in the regulated environment. So disruption is coming, but you know, technology is outpacing our regulatory framework. You know, we had a gaming policy committee in Nevada here just recently, and I believe they're about to meet a few more times this year. You know, trying to see how we can bring innovative new stuff to floors. We have so much innovative new stuff in the labs waiting to come on the floors. And all we need to do is actually, you know, change. You know, the regulators are being asked on limited budgets to check some of the stuff that we do with semi-unlimited budgets, and it's really, really difficult for them. And you know, it's a very, very, very fine point. I've got to make sure I don't upset anyone, but they're standardising regulatory environments. In Australia alone, we have to get 4 approvals for a small market because we have 4 different protocols. At least in America, we run one protocol. If we get a game and we roll it out in North America, we probably need over 30 approvals for that game. Now, these are the kind of things that, it's the way we always used to operate. We've got to look at the whole way we operate now. Never, never, never take away the fact that the regulator's job is to preserve the integrity and to protect the player. Make sure there's confidence and trust in our industry. But we've got to help them. We've got to give them the bandwidth so that we can start bringing more innovation to gaming forward. You know, things like the Wire Act. I have to throw this in, right? Why not restrict us to 1961 technology? That's a great idea for our industry. No. You know, fantasy sports, things like that. You know, obviously, should they have a lower standard? These are the questions that are out there at the moment. I believe there's enough innovation out there in our current guidelines to make sure that we do have a very healthy environment going forward. So given all of that, how do we win? How do we actually deal with all of that? And I like to look at it in these 7 ways or 6 ways. Our company, when we put our company together, when we decided how do you bring these different cultures together, you need to have one driving mission. And our driving mission was to empower our customers. You know, we're B2B, that's what we do. To empower our customers by creating the world's greatest gaming and lottery experiences, not games, experiences. You've got to know your player. I'll talk more about all of these. IT infrastructure, this is one of the biggest issues that I think we face. I mentioned before that 60% of casino floors are serial. For those, you know, master's students in the room, you probably don't even know what that means. But you know, these things have got polars on the floor, and every 15 minutes or so, they collect data. They send it up and they send it down, and they send it back to main systems. You can't use these modern tools when you don't have a fully Ethernet, you know, floor. 60% of the casino floors out there have polars sticking in. You can't even buy a polar, I don't think, anymore. You've got to have the right people, the right talent. It's a different world of talent. Where we used to hire different skills in the past, we're now looking for people who can do data analysis, technology driven, all these kind of skills. Security, huge. We've got to work in partnership with the regulators and the governments. We've got to work so that we can make this healthy, innovate this industry, give it longevity in a healthy way for the future, but in a way which is responsible, in a way which makes sense for everybody. And at the end of the day, it's all about information. So knowing your customer, I mean, there are so many amazing tools out there now about knowing your customers, but at the end of the day, you've got to have that customer relationship. You've got to have the right tools. You've got to have the right products. A great example is that app I mentioned. Right now, if I go into a casino with a player card, chances are I'll put my player card in the machine or give it to the person at the table, and I'll start playing. And let's just say that I drop $1,000 point in. Chances are no one will come, very few properties will actually have the tools to enable someone to come up while I'm on property, while I'm spending money, while I've lost money, and market to me in a way which is meaningful to me, which is usually saying, hey, here's 200 more. If you're going to give it to me, I'm going to spend it, right? And that's the way it works. They'll probably go home and they'll get a flyer in the mail that says, next time you're in, come and get a free buffet, or here's a couple of $100 of free play or something like that. You've lost your opportunity. With an app, like a phone app, when you walk onto a property, all of a sudden with the geofencing, you can be down, you're on the property. There can be an alert, you're a diamond player, Gavin's walked on the property. You keep the tracking on. In Australia, they did this study. How do you get players to keep the tracking on their cell phone? 93% would do it for a free drink. That makes it Australia. And drinks are free out there. 93% did it for a free drink. We'll give you a free drink if you keep the tracking on. That means that when someone works out that someone's dropped $1,000 in the machine over on bank 7, and I pull my card out and I move to bank 12, I can be tracked around the casino. You can walk up to a table. All of a sudden, with a little $1.50 sensor underneath the table, I can be tracked. My table play can be tracked. But all these things are available out there. And give you a better idea of your customer. Canada, my favorite jurisdiction for technology, is really getting it because the government's own everything. Interactive, casino, lottery, they have the perfect single deal for player. They can basically find out what they want to do this. I think some of them do. But on everything that you play, they can track your play. They can work out what you're doing. We can do a lot more of that here. We can do a lot more of that. And that's obviously a huge trend for the future because people want to be instantly rewarded. No matter what you're doing these days, whether you're a millennial or whether you're a Generation X or baby boomer, we want that instant reward. And the only way you do that is to have the tools to get that view of your player. This is a tough one. The investment in infrastructure is not cheap. But if you really want to have these tools, you've really got to go out there and do it. Obviously now when we're rebuilding casinos, they're becoming wireless. And so they should be, because that's the way, obviously do it. 6 years ago, the regulators probably wouldn't even let you go wireless. You've got to go wireless. You've got to have Ethernet floors. You've got to be able to do all these things. The cloud, having your own servers. If you haven't done it, if you haven't had the opportunity, if you do ever get the opportunity, go and have a look at Switch. Who are located here. We moved our servers to Switch. It's the most amazing business. I think it's probably something I'm more proud of as a resident of Las Vegas than many of the other things. When I go through there, I think, wow, this is just outstanding innovation. This is cutting edge. That's the cloud. The cloud actually is a bunch of servers. But it's being the lowest season. Fantastic. Big data is, we have an Empower conference at the end of this month, which is very heavily focused on systems and the technology that we bring to systems. Big data is all about the analytic tools. And, as I said before, if you try and collect every piece of data you get, it's going to cost you fortunes. You're going to run out of storage space. But some data you don't need. It's like filing systems in the old days. You know, some stuff you need straight away, you're working on, and you need to be accessing it straight away. Sometimes you send out to Iron Mountain, and the file comes back in a couple of days. It's the same with data. You know, you don't need to have everything in the most expensive format. But you need to have the right analytic tools to draw on the information that you need, the right dashboards. And in our social business, we have on Facebook or Android a thing called Jackpot Party. And we also have Goldfish. We also have Hotshot Casino. They're social games, so you can play them. All you do is you buy chips, and you can play for free. And you know, you go up ladders, and you open up new gates, and you go into new areas. And we use that for two reasons. One, to monetize our content. And secondly, we try things. So we've actually launched different things. Right now, we're running about 42 A/B tests out there with different cohorts. So we're seeing that people play this game. Do they prefer this symbol, or do they prefer this symbol? Do they like royals, or do they like cherries? Do they like yellow background or green background? We're testing these things all the time. It's the only way we can test, because in the regulated world, we can't put a game on the floor that's unregulated. It hasn't been approved. So we have to spend about $250,000 to get it out there. I can throw stuff out there in the social world and get feedback instantaneously. And we can change on the run. We can change games on the fly. Obviously, it's in our interest, and we're experienced at doing this. You don't want to burn your players. You want to give them value. You're not going to do anything stupid to do that. But you also want that data, and they don't know they're giving you that data because you're giving them choices in different ways as they open up different things. We have people in Israel. We have people. Our core is in Cedar Falls, Iowa. We have 200 developers. Most of the people working in that team are data analytics experts. They're all young. The average age is about 25. And these guys and girls are looking at data. They're looking at information that comes in, and they're immediately reacting to it. It's immediate reaction. We advertise. We spend just over about 20% of our revenues on advertising. So, you know, when you go on Facebook or any online program, and, you know, we've seen that you've been on our sites before, bang, you'll sell ads, 10,000, there's 4 different spots on a web page. And, you know, where do most players like to see it? Top right, bang, you go online and up will come an ad for one of these online casinos. This is instantaneous stuff. I mean, there are people sitting there right now monitoring this stuff and placing ads, you know, 1,000 at a time in different kinds of facilities. This is the future. This is really instant stuff. Instant gratification. You need all this. And with it comes the biggest issue of them all, which is security. You know, cybersecurity is such a huge issue as we move forward. You know, identity theft is one thing, but just overall security. You know, we have our company, our major shareholder has about 15 companies, a lot of which do drugs, and some of them do military work. So we put all our companies' resources together and really focus on the data security stuff, the data security stuff. And number one lesson I learned is don't try and build a fence and keep them out because they're already in. You just got to work on ways in which to prevent the damage being done and stop them from getting the data out that they may do. And that and privacy are huge issues. So the biggest challenge we have is how do you support the old existing infrastructure while you're making investments for the future. It's all about people. At the end of the day, all our businesses are about people. You've got to hire the right people. We've got to train the people the right way. You know, Southwest of Kelleher used to say, we employ people on their attitude, we can train the skills. You know, there's a little bit of that. Boy, do we need some skills in our industry. You know, I mentioned some of the ones before. The data and analytics. You know, it's such a big skill and the demand for it. Our game developers in traditional land-based gaming, you know, there's a certain market for it. There's a certain skill base. You know, there's not a lot of new blood coming into that. In our social area, we're competing with Silicon Valley all the time. You know, the game developer who has an idea in that space, you know, puts together a group of 5 people, goes to one of these investment bankers. You know, they're getting millions and millions of dollars. Yet most of those ideas don't even work. It's a whole different work. That's the skill base, and that's the, they're the kind of people that are really hard to get. IT, clearly, casinos, us, we're all trying to increase the level of training of our people, the IT pools. That's a different world, it's a different environment, so you've got to make sure you hire the right people. One of our sayings is we work with speed, passion, and flawless execution is our goal. How do you impact the regulations and ensure that there's growth? I don't know if you impact the regulations, but certainly you can influence new markets, you can adopt new technologies. And Nevada's been very, very good and proactive getting out there and getting in front of it, but frankly, it's still a lot easier for us to launch games in Native American jurisdictions, where we only have to get a GLI approval. We don't have to go through other steps of regulatory approval. So, we constantly get told by our Nevada customers, why can't we try this? Why can't we try this? We went to California and it's up and running there. It's stuck in the lab. These kind of things are a real issue. There's our Space in Vegas game on the far left. In that game, that version of skill, if you will, you play a slot machine, and if you get the feature, you get 15 free games, or you can play Space in Vegas against the machine. So you're not going to send a casino broke, but you can win more than the 15 free games. So, obviously the regulatory alignment is very, very important. Some of the things that we are trying to work on is trying to get more standardization across the board. Clearly the payments is an area we're all working towards. Game delivery, this concept of downloadable and all of that, which has perplexed everybody. When you look at how you can stream now, those kind of things, content on electronic tables, mobile, very important, marketing, social media, all of those kind of things. But at the end of the day, it's all about innovation. And these are some of the areas in which we're doing different things. Wearable technology is obviously coming. Mobile is a huge area of focus where we're spending. I mentioned that team of people we have up in Silicon Valley. They're working on technologies. One of our goals is in 2018 to have a display at a trade show, which would be like the floor of the future, what it looks like, applying all these different technologies. So we have people working on all these different areas, either alone or with partners. And I think it's so important that we keep doing that. And that's what the R&D investment's all about. How do you deal with divergence and convergence? You innovate. You match it. We're talking right now about allowing people in who've got these little app companies and things like that at a lower standard. We do this all the time. We have so much innovation out there that we'd love to get out of performance. It's just we have to work together with the whole environment in which we work to enable us to get our stuff out of the floors. So my message is embrace disruption. Very simply, don't fight it, embrace it. You got it. But we have to do it in the environment in which we're dealt. Love to take some questions. There's a lot of stuff there. I can spend hours and hours and days on this. We try to make it sort of pertinent to this group. I hope I did. But finish with another Irish bother. Does anyone have any questions? Anything at all?
You mentioned briefly that about skills-based gaming and it's going to be too revolutionary. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think, again, like I mentioned before, if you look at the last 10 years of G2Es, there's a hot thing that everyone talks about. A couple of years ago, skill-based gaming. We're all trying to say, well, we'd love to have skill-based gaming. If you're a total skill-based player, like esports, whatever it might be, that's great. But if you can win all the time, you can beat the casino. The casino's going to go broke. So, the idea is we have to build it into the parameters in which the casinos actually can make a return. And we have to do it in such a way that it doesn't upset the skill-based player. So you have to have skill elements in different games, and we're trying different things. But again, if you ask someone to play Frogger, and then at random you speed it up, they're not going to enjoy playing that. So you've got to make sure that the experience is as pure as it possibly can be, whilst at the same time fitting the environment we're in. Esports is great. You have all of these things. Everyone's saying, why don't we have esports in casinos and why don't we do all that? It's a company called Unicorn, who's probably the leader, I think, in the esports environment. They've got a great website. You can go on it, you can play virtual games and things like that. They're also owned by a big betting company, 50% by a large betting company. And they were hoping that they could make that into another stream of revenue for their sports betting. They have millions of people watching this stuff. You hear about people paying $60 going to $15, whatever it is, going and watching these guys play games against each other and teams. Less than 2% of their base gamble, and the average gambler spends less than $50 a month on it. So it's there, but it's not really going to move the world. So I think what I mean is that we'll keep trying these things and we'll keep seeing different ways in which we can bring things to floors to ultimately attract new players. But it's not going to be a complete revolution where you're going to stop playing random games and go and start playing skill games, and the casino's going to say, great. I guess that's my point. You've got to have different things for different people. We've got to attract different people. But this isn't going to be a revolution overnight where all of a sudden, casinos are going to be arcades. My opinion.
Go ahead, please.
Are you guys doing R&D in AR and VR gaming?
Yeah.
Do you see this option being obsolete?
You would have said, who would have thought three-reel steppers with handles would be applicable in this day and age? Yet you go to some of the most advanced markets and they're number one games. So, there's always going to be a different need for different markets. I think there are certain people. We had at G2E a VR sportsbook, right? So you put your glasses on and you had a 360-degree dimension. You had 20 different screens. And so if you focus for 2 seconds on a screen, it became the main screen. So, you had 20 different sporting events. And then over here, you had a sports book, which you could basically virtually play with. So I think there are certain applications which will be great for. I think ultimately there may be some small percentage of the floor where you might have an area in which you sit in, you've got the screen on, and you're playing with the slots and tables. I think that would be cool. But at the end of the day, casinos are after revenue per square foot. And whether or not that's going to be a huge driver, I don't think so. But I think ultimately it's going to become more and more relevant. And yeah, we're spending some money on it. So I don't think the slot machine is going to be irrelevant. No. Not in my lifetime.
So I was surprised to hear you say that in Indian jurisdictions, you find it's easier to get things approved because
much quicker.
In my experience, especially with there's a lot of distrust about technology, especially payments and how you pay for your gambling. So are you guys looking at different ways to attach payments to the machines, and are you seeing that same in Indian jurisdictions, that same sort of embracing technology? Because obviously they have a lot more flexibility than in Nevada.
Yeah, well, it depends on the trial. And we've got an example going on right now in Connecticut where we've got a partner in Sideline Payments, and they've got a discovery card that's cash in and cash out on the machine on the floor, using retail outlets and all of that. You couldn't trial that too hard, that. But it's up and running, doing very well in Connecticut. So my point was that when we need to get approval for something in a Native American jurisdiction, generally we only need a GLI approval. We don't need to go to a state lab after that. We don't need to go and get some other kind of approval after that.
So do you see that as almost like a beta test for what you're trying to do?
Well, we try and beta test where we possibly can, the quickest way we possibly can. Now, we obviously use our social stuff for a lot of the new concepts in that. But when it's a game, for example, we brought out something completely and utterly new, and we decided we wanted to test it in New Jersey. They guarantee you a 2-week approval. try and compete with the other jurisdictions around it. By the same token, if we want to get something through, in our system side of our world, right now we have a lot of stuff bogged down in the state jurisdictional labs. We really aren't equipped with the right technologies to test this stuff properly. And they have old rules in which they test it. Yet we get one GLI approval, we can roll out downloadable credits, cloud-based bonusing, all of that kind of stuff out there. And then again, our big customers here say, why can't we have that? We get still on a field trial, we have to do 90 days here or there or whatever it might be. So that's why it's a lot easier to do things in those jurisdictions.
So there's a bit of an irony that Nevada now is home to two of the world's largest lottery companies.
Well,
With Nevada not having a lottery, constitution prohibited. So it's interesting. What synergies do you find now that those companies have combined? How will lottery influence how we gamble, and how e-gamble will influence lottery?
I think there's a bit of synergy because it comes from the player end. The players will gamble on lottery tickets, they play slot machines. Players play the same thing. When I started in this role, and we were looking at, just announced, I think we were going to buy Valley. The friend of mine who runs the Manitoba gaming experiences up there said my #1 slot machine is a VLT called Zeus. Right? Why can't I have a scratch ticket called Zeus? There are things like that. So there's synergies with the content side of it. But I think you've got to remember that, like New York, where you've got nearly 20,000 machines in New York, the video lottery terminals run by the lottery. The VLTs all over the place and popping up more and more. So it's not really going to change a lot. The lottery gives us a lot more scope and scale, so we can focus our R&D a lot more. We can get a lot more R&D out there. But I think there's learnings from both sides. A scratch lottery ticket is in fact a slot game as a par sheet. It's just that you print it out all at once and you distribute it. So there's a lot of these things. The video lottery terminal is a lottery generator. They're drawing the instant tickets up in Washington State. So there are lots of things where it's associated. But I think it's just unusual. I think at the beginning I said no one would have expected consolidation the way it's worked. Scientific Games, as a lottery company, we're looking to get into the gaming space for growth. Lottery is a tough business. Your customers are governments. When I started, the head of lottery said, here's the difference between lottery and gaming. If you go to a gaming CEO and say, if you spend $1 million, I can get you $10 million more on the bottom line, they're interested, they want to know about it, if it makes sense, they'll do it. If you go to a lottery director and say, for $1 million, I can get $10 million on the bottom line, they're government employees, they're only concerned about their jobs, and they're under scrutiny the whole time. They said, we're not really interested in that, but is there any way you can save me $150? That's a different mentality. It's true. I mean, it really is true. You have 42 customers. Every time you rebid a contract, they're just purely on price. So the lottery companies are looking for growth. They saw growth opportunities in the gaming side. That's in a nutshell why the two biggest lottery companies came out and looked at gaming for opportunities. So that's the question. I don't think you're going to get a lottery here very soon.
I was kind of curious because of progressives, seems like you're increasing the player pool much like you would have like a Powerball increases the player pool. So small states like North Dakota can now offer $100 million jackpot. And in small casinos that may operate on private space, the progressives kind of looking at how lotteries have been thinking to do that with interstate agreements and contracts or whatever. I was thinking maybe that's the direction.
Well, there is a bit of that. You can do that today. You have Native American links, things like that on the wider end progressives. But again, the lottery Powerballs and everything are funded by massive big pools. And I don't think you're going to see all of a sudden. I mean, I'd love to think that you could have a $1.5 billion win on the slot machine, but you need such a huge player base and pool. The the lottery ticket sales were. Because, you know, when you reset, they go along like this, bit by bit. I think the current value of the Powerball is about 300 million or something. And once they hit about 350, 400, they start taking off a bit. Then they go, once they hit like a $500 million mark, they go in hyper mode. It's interesting, when at Christmas time, when the lottery was coming up towards the $1 billion mark, none of the meters that run the lottery, we have to run a lot of these systems, we run 11 states systems, had ever gone over $1 billion before. So we've never gone to that extra digit. And all the people are going, oh my God, here we go, Y2K all over. And we're testing all these systems. We have all these people sitting there, you know, watching the meters, thinking, oh my God, when it clicked over $1 billion, it worked. So yeah, I think you can still, if you've been out to these places, there are still, in some jurisdictions, Native American-wise, they will allow that. There are agreements now across states with the wide area progressives, sharing pools and things like that. But again, you've got this thing called the Wire Act, which says that you're not allowed to do anything like that.
So you mentioned that your industry is outpacing the regulatory framework, and I'm wondering how, if you care, how the United States fares internationally in its regulatory framework, and if you have views on which nations and which regulatory systems are best keeping pace with technology.
I think the United States is cutting the edge in many respects, and I think that, you know, when I'm saying, I'm not criticizing, I'm just saying, just by virtue of the size and the amount of innovation, we're spending more R&D now selling 60,000 units a year in the United States market than we did as an industry selling 100,000 units in the United States market. So, you know, there's a hell of a lot more of innovation coming in. You've got people trying different kinds of games, technologies, all of this. But, you know, state governments are still got their labs and saying, well, you know, I know you guys want to go from Windows 2003, but we haven't got the budget to get you up there. You know, yeah, you have to take 4 people out of the testing and things. So, yeah, it's really giving them the resources and what they need to be able to test. You know, outsourcing it to these companies like GLI, who have those resources, makes a lot of sense. A lot of jurisdictions have. But, you know, when you add an extra layer on top, that doesn't really help either. Australia, for example, which is like, it's the second largest market, slot machines. It's much easier to get a technical approval, but you've got 4 protocols, and they went to unified standards, and the unified standards are about that big, and then the state amendments on each one are about that big. So that's not a good thing. That doesn't work. You know, Macau, it's ridiculous. You don't know what the rules are each week. Singapore's even worse, you know, because all of a sudden, why can't we get this approved? You know, it doesn't comply. Why not? I'll tell you. So I think the United States jurisdiction is very good. I'm sort of making a joke out of it, but it really is very true. Europe, pretty much GLI. So the GLI, I hate to give them an ad, but they're pretty much a common standard. There are other ones like BMN, people like that who do adopt standards, but many of the jurisdictions around the world are catching up with the United States, and they're adapting to GLI or other standards like that.
So we have record visitation here in Vegas, more tourists coming than ever before. We know that gaming is relatively flat, maybe moderate increases, especially in the Strip. Retail, nightlife, F&B, accounting for 50, 60, 70% off of the casino resorts numbers. Do the casino resorts actually want these players to go back to gaming? And you know, and the second part of that question, you know, some of the new technology and the products that come out, does that take that, or has the paradigm completely shifted?
It's a fabulous question. The first part of it is, do the casinos want them? I think they do. Are they prepared to invest in that? Some are and some aren't. We see it in Indian land all the time. They put new equipment on the floors, players come. They go to Southern California, and all the players who used to come here are flocking into Southern California. I did a 3-day tour 2 weeks ago, and I went to 8 of the bigger casinos down there. and on average, double-digit growth is the minimum year on year. And they're investing heavily on their floors, their latest technologies. They still run some old systems, but their games are fresh, their games are new, they can continuously refresh their floor. One casino in this town on the strip decided to invest in their floor, and they're up over 25% year on year. And I think players aren't stupid. If they're going to come to Vegas and find that there's nothing new, they're not going to play. But if they come to Vegas and see there's new stuff, I think they're going to come to Vegas. Maybe you're going to get people who don't want to come just for the nightclubs, come back to come and gamble. The experience that I always remember was the regions you'd play in your regional casino, and then you'd come on that 3 times a year trip to Vegas, have fun with your friends and gamble with your friends. You're not going to come here and gamble. There's nothing new, and where's this machine I play at home? It's not here. So I think there's a little bit of that in Vegas. So there's a lot of investment outside of gambling. I think that if there's a bit more investment in gaming, you might see some improvement. And I think some of these new technologies hopefully will help do that. Because the floors are pretty advanced from a technology perspective. They have most of them have the infrastructure. But I think the example of that one casino that's actually really spent some money and time on the casino floor, going to see huge improvements in gaming. It's an eye-opener.
So, please join me in thanking Gavin.
Thank you.
We have a reception outside. Please join us. And we have a small token of Motec gifts. Thank you.